All right, back at it. So as you guys know, it's been one of those years with this car, and you can't win all the time with performance cars, and I found out the hard way through lack of knowledge, lack of experience, whatever you want to call it. So as you guys know, we built the motor middle of the year. We blew it up in February, built the motor using the same hot side basically. Put a built motor in it, ran it up on the dyno, started blowing smoke. Realised that we didn't have a turbo oil pressure restrictor on the oil feed line to the turbo. Checked the oil pressure, it was like 75 psi at idle, which is way too much, and that's only going to climb with RPM. It's got a big billet oil pump in this build engine. So we killed the first turbo on the dyno. 2 weeks later, I forked out and bought another turbo, put that on with the TURBOSMART OPR restrictor in place, and within an hour I blew that seal to pieces. Once again, smoking really bad out the exhaust. Checked the engine, checked the oil. It wasn't breathing out the engine, it wasn't breathing out the dipstick, it wasn't breathing out the catch can, it wasn't breathing out the oil filler cap. There was no signs the engine had trouble, so we tuned her up. Make 630 kilowatt on just under 30 pound of boost, still blowing a bit of smoke. I was told just to monitor it, so basically the car's done a total of 2,700 Ks. So it done 850 K run in, then it done another 1,700 Ks trying to sort this smoking issue out between the last turbo and today. So fast forward a couple of months, I put some Ks on it, the smoke was not getting any better, it was getting worse if anything. And towards the end of the year, I thought, I've got to do something about this. It's not right, obviously. So we comp tested the engine. It came back Mickey Mouse, 160 to 165 across the board, which I've been told by a few engine builders is on the money. If you've got cams, you're going to bleed off a little bit of compression when you do a compression test. So 165s, and they're all pretty much even across the board. Tells me I've got a nice engine. Check the oil pressure again with the OPR fitted, and it was still at like 40, 42 PSI at idle. Still maybe a little high. So even though it's restricted it down to 40 PSI, it still might have too much flow. So you can have oil pressure and oil flow. You can have too much flow and the right amount of pressure, or vice versa. So I think I've got a flow problem. So we're going to check that. So this is what this video is going to be about. I've got the new Pulsar turbo. They've given me a turbo under warranty because it blew the seal. And I'll give you a look. It's very obvious. I'll show you the turbo. I'll have to cut to another clip of the turbos at home. It looked exactly like the first turbo. You pull the rear housing, or you pull the core out, and the rear wheel, where the oil seal is, right at the back of the wheel, was dripping with oil. Now you can't tell me that fresh oil from the engine would get to the back of the turbine housing and drip off the turbo without being burnt. Once again, I'll show you the housing. It's pretty clear that it's made a mess of the housing, and you'll see the rear housing of the split pulse exhaust housing is bone dry. There's no oil in it whatsoever. So hopefully you can see that rear. Now I've cleaned this up. I've given it a wire wheel and a good brake cleaning to try and clean all that oil out of the front of the housing. But I think you can see, guys, that housing has been soaked in oil. And if you come to the rear housing, it's dry in there. Like, I hope this, I can't really see what I'm videoing here, but I'm sure you can see that rear housing is bone dry, the second part of the split pulse manifold. So you can see that little gap where the exhaust housing splits. If I can point to it. Yeah, so see this gap in here. Hopefully you can see that gap there. That's the second part. So this is the front part. That's the second part in there. I stuck a camera, like that's wet from me pump and brake clean, and all the oil's got in there. But it was bone dry before I brake cleaned it and wire wheeled the front of the housing. I stuck an inspection camera up there to have a look inside the exhaust manifold. And the exhaust manifold flange looks dry. There's no oil residue in there that I could see. So once again, 100% we're picking on the turbo. Once you see the turbo with the oil dripping off the housing, it's pretty obvious to me. Can't be anything else. We've checked the engine, so third turbo's going on. Hopefully we have a win. There's no guarantees with this, but I think I'm onto it. So come to the fix. This is the fix that we've come up with. So this is the oil feed. This is the oil feed into the top of the turbo. So that sits on top of the turbo like so, and your oil line goes in the top here. So what we can do, you can see that, what's that, like a 4mm hole? It's probably a bit bigger in that end. It's probably 6 or 8mm, but basically it's a 4mm hole in there, and it's pretty much the Earl's oil line that supplies your turbo with oil is approximately 4mm. So what we're going to do, we're going to unscrew this guy, and we're going to fit this restrictor. Now I don't think you'll be able to pick this up on the camera, but that has got a tiny like 0.8 or 1mm hole in there. So I know from experience and talking to a few guys that that's probably going to be too much. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that off. I'm going to put that there. We're going to replace it with that. But first, we're going to screw this into the oil line. So this is our oil feed line here with the TURBOSMART OPR oil restrictor on it. This is the end of the line. So that bit goes into the turbocharger. We're going to put our fitting into the end of there, and we're going to check oil pressure and oil flow. Now, if I put this on, say it's like, we know it's 42 PSI now at idle. Say I put this on and it drops it to like 10. Okay, we've gone too far. So we'll get this hole and we'll drill it out to 1.5mm. We'll chuck it back on, 15 PSI. Great, we're heading in the right direction. I'm aiming, my target's about 20 PSI at idle. So we'll drill it out again. Maybe it needs 1.8mm or 2mm hole through it to restrict to 20. So we'll keep playing with it till we get it right. I'm aiming for about 20 PSI. I really have no clue if this is going to work, guys, but that's the fix. We're going to aim for about 20 PSI idle. I also have a flow rate to check. Apparently, I should be able to fill, for good oil flow, I should be able to fill a 600ml bottle in 18 seconds. So that's the time to fill an 600ml Coke bottle with the oil feed. So I'm going to put the oil feed in a Coke bottle, start the engine, get the stopwatch going, and go from there and time it. And obviously if I fill that Coke bottle in 10 seconds, then I've got way too much flow. We'll time it and we'll go from there. So that's the idea, that's my theories behind it. Obviously I've been talking to a few people, Maxx Performance, my engine builder, a few other guys are trying to give me pointers and tips on how to get rid of this smoking turbo issue, because it's pissing me off. This is the third turbo. I've spent, 20 something plus grand this year on this car, and I've still got a smoky car. So hopefully this is it. Stay tuned. I'll keep you updated through the video, and let's see if we can fix this bad boy. So something else I've just noticed, guys. There's oil all in this front compressor housing. I don't know how I didn't notice this when I pulled it apart. I was probably just in a rush to pull it apart, but I don't know if the GoPro's picking that up, but can you see all that oil film? And like when I wipe that, let me see if I can get a... I don't know if it's a good picture or not, but yeah, I don't know if you can see this. I'll try and get right in close. Oh, look at that. That's fresh oil, and plenty of it. So once again, I'm very confident it's just too much oil pressure to the turbo. Let's hope. Okay guys, well, I'm sort of excited. I think I've given it a road test. So I filled the muffler, the center muffler, with like a litre of brake clean a couple of weeks ago to try and make sure there was no oil in it. I think that's still coming out, because the first start, I panicked and I'm like, I haven't fixed shit. So the first start, the first 15 minutes was a bit of smoke, but I took it for a road test and it was almost brand new. Like I'm not confident yet. We need to go for another road test. I'll give you an update. So as I said in the last start of the video, we've put the restrictor in. We've drilled the 1 mil hole out to 1.5. So this is that fitting there in the top of the extension for the turbo oil feed. That's been fitted with a restrictor down to 1.5 mil. New turbo core. We've also put a new wastegate spring in it so we can turn it up a little bit next year, but trust me, the end of this video will be a different Kev. If this survives the next road test and it's not smoking, I'm going to be a happy boy. Fingers crossed, let's see how it goes. Well guys, it's mixed emotions. Yes, I'm excited, but I'm still a bit, after the year I've had 3 turbochargers, I think it's fixed. We just took it for the second road test. It did not smoke at all. The smoking is definitely getting better. Not like last time where I thought, and I'm sort of more hoping than actually knowing that it's getting better. It's 100% getting better. It was definitely just a brake clean in the muffler. I think she's fixed, guys. No blown motor. After 25 grand and a year of stress, 3 turbochargers, it came down to a $10 oil fitting with a 1.5 mil restrictor in it. That's all it was. So we put a new core in it today. It does need a tune because I've thrown a new wastegate spring in it. So we'll turn it up early next year. It's Christmas time. I'm out of money. So there'll be an updated video of the tune. We'll try and wind it up a little bit. We'll try and make 650 or more, but I'm pretty happy where she's at. I can't really flog it at the moment because it's got a different wastegate spring and that'll obviously change the tune, but she's fixed. No more blowing smoke. I've got it to at least 4,000 to 5,000 RPM. So that's maximum oil pressure, yeah, and still no smoke. So look, I'm ecstatic, guys. No blown motor. It was just a turbo core from too much oil pressure. So don't tell Pulsar because they gave me warranty. But anyway, all good. I hope you like this video. It's been one of those years. I know this video isn't the cleanest and isn't the nicest, but I thought I'd give you an update because I'm so stoked, and I'm sure some of you have been thinking, what's been happening with the car this year. So it's fixed, built motor's beautiful, new turbo. Let's move on. Next year's going to be bigger and better. We'll turn it up and have a good year. So fast forward a couple of weeks, guys, and unfortunately the car is still smoking. So I don't know what's going on. It's doing my head in a little bit. This year's been a tough year. As you know, we put the engine in like back in June, I think it was. Then I got sick in September from surgery 20 years ago when I had my cancer operation. I just had scar tissue and stuff. And then that surgery didn't go well, and I was back in hospital in October. I was off work until I think it was December the 5th or something. So it's been a bit of a tough year. And to be honest, the car has really done my head in. Look, I'm a bit of an emotional guy. I love my car. I haven't got much in this world. I've got the car club, my son, and my car. And it's really hurt. I've put just over 20 grand into this car this year. About 15 on the motor, plus about 2 or 3K in little bits, plus tuning and a few other things, an exhaust. I'm at about 22K into this car since May this year pretty much, and I've got a smoking engine. I don't know what's wrong. We've put 2 turbochargers on it, so for you who haven't followed along in the previous videos, we put it on the dyno after the run-in. We did 800, 900 Ks of run-in with the limiter set at 4,000 RPM. The engine was fine, everything was fine, no smoke. This setup was fine before I blew the engine, so stock motor, same hot side, same cold side, same fuel system. The only thing that changed was a built motor and a 4-inch exhaust. And yeah, put it on the dyno after the run-in and it started smoking. So we realized we didn't have an OPR or a restrictor to the turbo on it. So we fitted a restrictor that night, put it on the dyno, and damage was done. It was smoking its ass off. So got another turbo that I paid for, fitted that turbo, pretty much same result. About a month or 2 later, put it on the dyno. That's when it made 630 odd kilowatts at the wheels. On just under 30 pound, and still smoking. So I drove it around for about 2 months, just checking it, keeping a very close eye on everything, checking the oil, and it was going through a bit of oil and still smoking. So with my engine builder and Maxx Performance, they've been really good in helping me along the way. We comp tested the engine. That came back pretty good at 160 to 162 even across the board, and I've been told that's about normal for a car with big cams. I would have liked to seen 170s plus, but apparently that's normal. You never know, this could, you know, show its head down the track, but apparently that's normal if you've got big cams, about 160, 162 across the board. Everything else checks out fine. It's breathing a tiny bit through the rocker cover, but once again, I'm told to build engine, it's going to breathe a little bit, but we'll see. And yeah, at the end of the day, I put another turbocharger on it 2 weeks ago. This is what this video is about. It was about 3 weeks ago. And reduced the oil pressure to the turbo again. So we had the OPR TurboSMART restrictor restricting it to 40 psi through the turbo. Then we put a 1.5 mil restrictor on the oil feed to the turbo to restrict it even more. And it's pretty much, it's done a little bit, but it's the same. It's still smoking. It's more on decel. It's more on startup when it's cold. When it gets hot and you've been driving it for 10 minutes or so, it's not bad, but it still puffs on decel. So I don't know if I've hurt the bottom end running it in. I don't know if it's like one valve stem seal that's decided to pop up or fail, or it could be a bit of silicon in a valve stem seal. It could be anything. We don't know. It's going to Maxx Performance at the start of the year, and I've told them I just want it fixed. So if it's engine out, whatever needs to happen, we're going to get in some diagnosis. We're going to check the breathing system, the oiling system to the turbo, the return of the oiling system. We're going to check everything, trust me. Before the engine comes out, we're going to check everything, but we'll find it before we pull the engine out. Obviously, once the turbo, and this time the manifold comes off, because we haven't pulled the manifold off when we've been changing turbos. We've only just changed the core. And once the exhaust manifold comes off, it should be clear as day if it's the engine or not. We'll see oil in one of the exhaust ports, or all of the exhaust ports. I'm thinking just one somewhere along the line. If it is engine related, it'll just be one exhaust port that'll be covered in oil, and then we'll go, right, that's the culprit, and we'll say it's cylinder 3 that's got oil in it, and we'll check for valve stem issues and all that. And if it's not, and then the engine has to come out if it's from the engine. But we're going to check everything. We're going to check the turbo oiling system. We're going to check everything and go from there. So it's been draining. I know I haven't put out many videos. There's not much to do, guys. I'm not going to film a car that's not right. And I can't drive it to its limit. So there's no point driving it if I can't drive the way I was supposed to be. You know, it's a fun car. It's got big power. I want to drive it on big power. At the moment, I've been putting around on low boost 380 kilowatt. That's not what I built the car for. So videos will come. There'll be more updates. I'll let you know how it goes earlier in the year. Let's cross our fingers the engine doesn't have to come out, because I'm broke as a joke. So that's about it for the car. I've tried to explain everything. So if you've got any points or helps or hints, guys, or anything that you can get me to try, you know, I'm more than happy to give it a go. But like I said, it's going to Maxx Performance at the start of the year, and they'll get it sorted for me. Apart from that, thank you everyone for supporting me this year. Like I said, I know I haven't put out that many videos. It's been a bit of a bad year, car-wise and health-wise, but next year's a new year, 2025. I'm confident we're going to fix this bloody car earlier in the year, and then we can turn it up a little bit more even, and we'll see how we go later in the year. The plan is to put some bigger injectors in it and turn it up. I do want to try and make 700 on this setup. It's probably not quite achievable with a log manifold, but we're going to give it a whirl later in the year. So that's the plans with the car. We'll get this oiling sorted. We'll chuck some injectors in it. We've got to get rid of the 3.5 inch cat, 'cause it's still got a 3.5 inch cat on a 4 inch exhaust, which is a bit restrictive up top. So we'll do these little things. That'll be time for another video. And yeah, we'll get this car humping earlier next year. So like I said, thanks for supporting me. Follow along. I will get this bloody thing sorted. It's just, it is what it is, guys. I don't know what to say, but live and learn, I suppose. You know, we'll find out at the end what's wrong, but I'm just learning. I'm no expert, and if I've done something wrong, I'll cop it. If it's a warranty issue with the engine builder's fine with it. We'll sort it out. And between me, Max, and the engine builder, we'll get this bloody car sorted. All right, so that's about enough out of me for 1 year. Like I said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thanks for supporting me. Take care. Have a good one, everyone. Love yous.